I am newly pregnant, which means I am navigating a landscape of physical and emotional changes that I never fully anticipated, a rollercoaster of hormones and fatigue and strange food cravings, and a burgeoning awareness that my body is no longer just my own but is now a vessel for another life, and with that awareness has come a profound shift in my perspective on so many things, including the mundane, everyday tasks that used to feel like simple chores but now feel like negotiations with my future self. Because I have been thinking a lot about what it will be like when my belly is big and round and heavy, when bending over becomes a logistical challenge, when standing for long periods feels like a marathon, when the simple act of reaching into the dishwasher to unload a stack of plates requires a strategic plan and perhaps a prayer, and I have decided, with the kind of determination that only a surge of pregnancy hormones can produce, that I'm going to be more diligent about tasks now, not because I am a perfectionist or because I enjoy housework, but because I want to set myself up for success. I want to create systems and habits that will carry me through the later months when everything is harder, and I want to avoid the existential dread that comes from looking at a mountain of dirty dishes and realizing that I have to deal with all of them at once, because I know myself. I know that I am prone to procrastination and avoidance, and I know that if I let things pile up, I will only feel more overwhelmed and more resentful, and that is not the energy I want to bring into my pregnancy. That is not the mindset I want to have when I am preparing to welcome a new life into the world. So I have started a new routine. I unload the dishwasher in the morning, while my coffee is brewing and my mind is still fresh, and then, throughout the day, I load every dish I use immediately, without waiting, without letting them sit in the sink, without giving myself the chance to forget about them or put them off until later. And this system has been working beautifully for me. It has brought me a sense of calm and control that I desperately need in a time when so much feels uncertain and out of my hands, and I feel a quiet pride every time I look at the clean, empty sink, every time I know that the dishes are done and I do not have to worry about them, because that is one less thing on my plate, one less source of stress, one less reason to feel like I am falling behind, and I thought this was a good thing. I thought my boyfriend would be supportive. I thought he would appreciate the effort I was putting in to keep our home running smoothly, but instead, he has criticized my strategy, and his criticism has sparked an argument that feels so much bigger than just dishes, an argument that has tapped into deeper issues of control and communication and the way we see the world differently. Because he says that instead of loading dishes as I use them, I should be rinsing them and loading them into the other side of the sink, so that we can plan to fit things better, so that we can be more efficient with the space in the dishwasher. And I listened to him, I really did. I tried to understand his perspective, I tried to see the logic in his method, and I just do not see how it is better. I genuinely do not, because in my mind, my strategy already involves a planned approach. I think about where things go, I think about not breaking anything, I think about which items can nest together and which need their own space, and I load the dishwasher with intention and care, making sure that everything fits and that nothing will block the spray arms or prevent the water from reaching every surface. And I do not understand how leaving dishes in the sink, even if they are rinsed, even if they are on the other side, is somehow more efficient, because in my view, that just creates visual clutter. It creates a pile that I have to look at every time I walk into the kitchen. It creates the temptation to let them sit there and accumulate, and at the end of the day, when I am tired and my back hurts and all I want to do is sit down and put my feet up, I will have to deal with them, I will have to sort through them, I will have to figure out which ones go where, and I know that in that moment, I will regret not just loading them right away. I will feel frustrated and resentful and overwhelmed, and the workload that I avoided during the day will come crashing down on me all at once, and I do not want that. I do not want to experience that feeling of dread and exhaustion every single night, because I know that pregnancy fatigue is real. I know that there will be days when I can barely muster the energy to get off the couch, and I want to build habits now that will carry me through those days, habits that will make things easier, not harder, and I told my boyfriend this. I tried to explain my reasoning, I tried to help him see why my method works better for me, but he kept insisting that his way was more efficient, that it was better to plan, that if we just saved all the dishes and loaded them at once, we could optimize the space and run fewer loads, and I will admit, I got frustrated. I felt like he was not hearing me, like he was dismissing my strategy and my efforts and my needs, and I started to wonder if this was about more than just dishes, if this was about a fundamental difference in how we approach tasks, because I'm someone who likes to tackle things as they come, to deal with small tasks immediately so they do not become big tasks later, whereas he is someone who likes to plan, to consolidate, to think about the most efficient use of space and time, and both approaches have their merits. I can see that. I am not so stubborn that I cannot acknowledge the value in his method, but the difference is that his method works for him when he is the one doing the work, and my method works for me when I am the one doing the work, and right now, I am the one doing the dishes. I am the one who unloads in the morning and loads throughout the day. I am the one who is trying to prepare for a future where I will have less energy and more physical limitations, and I feel like I should have the right to do things my way, especially when my way is not hurting anyone, especially when my way is actually working, and I told him that I am willing to compromise. I really am, because I believe that relationships require give and take, that you cannot always have things your own way, that you have to find a middle ground that works for both people. But I also told him that I genuinely Believe his method creates more work, not less, because rearranging a few dishes on the bottom rack, which is all I would have to do if I loaded them immediately, is not the same as dealing with a pile of dishes that have been sitting in the sink all day, even if they are rinsed, because rinsed dishes still need to be handled, still need to be sorted, still need to be loaded in a way that ensures they get clean, and the visual clutter alone, just seeing that pile in the sink, adds a psychological weight that I do not need in my life, especially not right now, not when I am growing a human, not when my emotions are already all over the place, not when I am trying so hard to create a sense of calm and order in my home. And I told him that I understand he wants things to be efficient, that I appreciate he is trying to help, that I know he is not trying to be difficult or controlling, but I also asked him to trust me, to trust that I know what works for me, to trust that I have thought about this and am not just being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn, and his response was a shrug, a non-committal okay, a retreat into silence that somehow felt worse than if he had kept arguing, because the silence felt like judgment, like he was just waiting for me to fail, like he was saving up an "I told you so" for later, and I hate that feeling. I hate feeling like my partner is not on my side, like he is waiting for me to prove myself wrong, like he values his own way of doing things over my needs and my comfort and my sanity. And I know that sounds dramatic. I know it is just dishes. I know there are people in the world with real problems, but in the small, intimate world of our shared life, this is a real problem, because it is not just about dishes. It is about being seen and heard and respected. It is about having your choices validated even when they are not the choices your partner would make. It is about feeling like you are in a partnership where both people's needs are taken seriously, and right now, I do not feel that. I feel like my perspective has been dismissed, like my strategy has been judged and found wanting, and I have spent the last few days going back and forth in my own head, questioning myself, wondering if I am being unreasonable, wondering if I am too attached to my own way, wondering if there is a compromise I am not seeing. And I have come to the conclusion that maybe the issue is not the dishes at all, maybe the issue is that my boyfriend and I have different working styles, different ways of approaching tasks, different tolerance levels for clutter and chaos, and we need to find a way to navigate that difference without making each other feel invalidated or controlled. And maybe that means taking turns. Maybe it means I get to do the dishes my way on the days I am doing them, and he gets to do them his way on the days he is doing them, because right now, I am the one doing them, and I think I should have the autonomy to do them the way that makes the most sense to me, and if he wants to do them his way, he can do them himself, he can take over the job entirely, and I will not complain about how he loads the dishwasher, I will not criticize his method, I will just appreciate the fact that the dishes are done, because that is what I want from him. I want his support and his appreciation, not his critique. And I know that sounds like I'm being defensive, like I'm unwilling to accept feedback. But I am not. I am willing to listen. I am willing to consider alternatives. I just need to feel like my perspective is being taken seriously, like my needs are being considered, like I'm not being treated as irrational or incompetent because I do things differently. And I think that is a fair ask. I think that is the bare minimum of a healthy relationship, and I'm trying to figure out how to communicate that to him without starting another argument, because I do not want to fight about dishes. I really do not. I want to find a solution that works for both of us. I want to feel like we are on the same team. I want to feel like we are building a life together, not battling over the small stuff. And so I'm taking a step back. I'm trying to see the bigger picture. I'm trying to remember that we love each other, that we are about to become parents, that we have so much more important stuff to navigate than whether dishes are loaded immediately or saved for later, and I'm trying to let go of my need to be right, to be validated, to have things my way, because in the grand scheme of things, this is such a tiny blip, this is such a minor disagreement, and I do not want it to become a wedge between us. I do not want it to fester into resentment or contempt, because I have seen what that does to relationships. I have seen how the small arguments, the petty disagreements, the little resentments can build up over time until they become impossible to ignore, until they poison everything else, and I do not want that for us. I want us to be the kind of couple that can laugh about this, the kind of couple that can say, remember when we fought about loading the dishes, and shake our heads and smile, because we got through it, because we figured it out, because we learned how to communicate and compromise and respect each other's differences. And I think we can get there. I really do. I think we just need to take a breath, to step back from our positions, to try to see things from each other's perspective, and maybe that means I let him do things his way sometimes, and maybe it means he lets me do things my way, and maybe it means we find a third way that neither of us has thought of yet, and maybe it means we just agree to disagree and stop trying to win the argument, because at the end of the day, the dishes will get done, the kitchen will be clean, and we will still love each other, and that is what matters. That is what I need to hold on to, because I am about to bring a child into this world, a child who will watch us, who will learn from us, who will model their own relationships on what they see in ours, and I want that child to see two people who respect each other, who can disagree without being disagreeable, who can find common ground even when they see things differently. And so I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to have another conversation with my boyfriend, not about dishes, but about how we can work together, how we can support each other, how we can make our home a place of peace and partnership. And I'm going to start by telling him that I appreciate his input, that I value his perspective, that I want to find a way to do this together. And I'm going to ask him to do the same for me, to acknowledge that my way is not wrong, just different, and that different can be okay. And I'm going to hope that he meets me there, that he is willing to put down his own need to be right, that he is willing to see me as a partner, not an adversary. And if he does, I know we will be okay. I know we will figure this out. I know we will get through this and so much more, because that is what love is. That is what commitment is. It is not about never having conflict. It is about navigating conflict with grace and compassion and a willingness to grow. And I am ready to do that. I am ready to grow. I am ready to learn, and I am ready to let go of the need to be right about loading the dishes, because in the end, it is just not that important. It is just dishes. But what matters, what really matters, is that we are in this together, and we are going to be okay.